Hi, my name is Caitlin Locke, and I'm a third-year PhD student at Lamont, and I graduated from Columbia University's School of General Studies in 2013, and I started my PhD here in the fall of 2021. I just defended my master's thesis, and that was studying the Venable Ice Shelf in Antarctica, which is just below the Antarctic Peninsula on the western part of Antarctica in the West Antarctic ice sheet. And I was modeling the seafloor under the Venable Ice Shelf using airborne gravity and magnetics data. And I guess just why would you do that? Because we're very interested in how Antarctica is losing ice mass at this time, and a place that we don't know much about is the seafloor under these ice shelves, and that's really important because warm water from offshore can potentially get into these seawater cavities under the ice shelf and melt the ice from below. So understanding how the water can flow under the ice shelves is really important, hence modeling the seafloor underneath it so we can understand if the water can even get under the ice shelf or not. So one of the major questions is when will these ice shelves break up? Because right now they're sort of like corks in a wine bottle. They're holding all the rest of the ice on top of the continent. And once they break up, that ice is able to flow into the ocean and contribute further to sea level rise. So if the warm waters can access the sub-ice shelf cavity and start to melt it, that weakens the ice shelf and could potentially lead to its breakup. You see all those articles, it's usually about ice shelves or glaciers that are imminently maybe going to break up and then contribute to sea level rise in some grand way. We've had discussions in this department when I was an undergrad, how did you end up here? And a lot of them were oh, I just sort of my roommate told me to take this class, and I was okay, and then now I'm a major, or I was going to do physics, and then I did this for fun. In high school, I took the Regents Earth Science class, and I just really loved it, and when I finished that year, I was this might be something I will study in college. I did try out professional ballet dancer before going to college. I thought that would be what I would do. I did that for 4 years and then decided to go back to college. I actually did an internship here during the summer between my sophomore and junior year. That was my first introduction to research, and I really enjoyed the process. I took a little bit of a hiatus and worked, and then I came back here and I started working at the Polar Geophysics, or with the Polar Geophysics group, and I just sort of fell in love with the work they do here in Antarctica and Greenland, and then I decided to pursue my PhD. So I've done 4 field seasons, 3 in Antarctica and 1 in Greenland. I want to say my first Antarctic one was probably the most rewarding, just because, I think it was a dream to go there, and I never really thought that I ever would, and then I started working with this group, and they were would you like to go? And I was yes, I would love that. And it was just so amazing to be there. The science was awesome, our team was amazing, so just I think overall the fieldwork went really well. We got really great data, but then just being on the continent and experiencing that type of environment was really just truly amazing, and I hope I get to go back. So. In Antarctica, that was more limited because you can't just go outside by yourself. You have to, I believe we had to have a buddy with us at all time. You could sign out and go on certain hikes, which we did, which was super fun when we had downtime and the weather was nice. There was a lounge in each building, so we did a lot of watching movies together as a group, mostly when the weather was bad. There was a arts and crafts room that you could go to and knit or make things. And then there was a little library you could go in and read in. A lot of the mainstream people don't know enough or about the nuances about the whole system. There's a lot of these doomsday articles out there, but that just in some ways make it seem worse than maybe it is. So I think even just like, and I think we don't really maybe teach enough about just the consequences of like climate change and like its effects on the polar environments as well anymore. I mean, maybe it is better now, but definitely not when I was in school. And I think that is something that is not done well, and I don't necessarily know how to do it better. But that to me is something that we could really vastly improve, is just like bringing that together and connecting it for students from a very early age. When I was in high school, they let everyone who did well enough in middle school skip our science. That's very typical, I think, just like across the United States. Like, learning about earth science is really important now because I think it ties into this and like climate change and just knowing more about the earth system. And I think that we need to like focus more on bringing that back into education. Do what interests you most and follow your heart on that. And that's like, well, what will be what makes you like happy and excited to be there every day. You should make sure that you're like in a group that's very supportive of you and wants to like share data and ideas. So it's not always the case in the scientific world past like school. So I think just find like a really great supportive environment and do what you like, and you should be happy and have good people around you.